Hello, everyone. In case you forgot about us, we're back. It's Just Sports Winsted live tonight from Billy's basement on Thursday night, December 5th, 2024. Welcome to winter as well. Winter has finally come to the northwest corner, and we're glad to be here in this warm basement fired up by Billy's wood pellet stove.
Yeah, it's going good, nice and strong.
Feels good.
Little 4 or 5 inches of snow today.
Yeah, it looks wintry out there and got that holiday vibe. And I saw Billy's house from a mile away. He's got so many Christmas lights.
No kid.
Going
You can
on.
see it from the freaking
From the
satellites.
Yeah.
From the satellites.
Yeah, right.
Space station could probably see it.
I have some airplanes checking in to see if it's a landing zone. I like the lights.
Yeah,
I got the lights.
Well, you got a lot of them, so that's good.
You got 'em.
You're in the holiday spirit.
On the
He is.
holiday, that's right.
But
2 days of setup it takes me now.
2
Is
days.
that what it's-
Well,
Wow.
it's not 2 full days, but
Well, now,
After-
what day did you do it?
I actually, not this past weekend, the weekend
It
before.
was fairly warm.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
still warm.
Good for
That's
you.
why I was like, that's a good
Good
time
for
to
you.
do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, and I got a lot of, all the hooks are set up, so most of the time it's just
Oh,
shredding
so
them
just
across.
straight.
Yeah.
So you got it down to a science.
Got it down to a science. Once you do it, see how many extension cords go into which one and do all that, get them all figured out. We got our Christmas tree on the day after
I see it. It looks very nice.
Thanksgiving.
It looks
Yeah,
very
we go up
nice.
to Coward Farms. It's a really nice farm up in Southwick.
Good
And,
for you.
yeah. So
nice.
we're ready to rock and roll. Lynn's making cookies, and she makes this candy. Chris calls it the candy crack. It's like Heat Bar.
Ooh.
Oh,
It's just,
yeah.
you eat one piece and you just can't stop.
Oh,
You have
yeah.
to keep going, right? You
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Anyways, we're on to sports
Back to
now.
sports. Here we
Back
go.
to sports,
Yeah.
but it's been a bit since we've actually had a Just Sports show. I think the last time one we had was actually on Halloween night.
Wow.
Is that the last one?
Yes, because
All
then
in
the
November.
next 2 Thursday nights we had football games,
That's right.
and then last week was Thanksgiving
That's right.
Right.
on Thursday. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
But thanks for tuning in. If you're out there, we'd love to hear from you guys tonight. Our call-in number is 860-605-7622. One more time, 860-605-7622. If you'd like to talk about anything in the world of sports. And while we wait for some calls, we should make mention of the fact that Billy and I had the pleasure of going to the GNH football banquet last night at Crystal Peak.
There you go.
And it was a very nice affair, and
Huge crowd, right?
big crowd, biggest crowd
roster they've ever had.
had.
With all the kids on the team.
Yeah.
All the kids
I
on the
see it.
team.
They had to get extra tables.
Did they really?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
they did, and the
Yeah.
players always used to sit at separate tables by class. They had everybody at one gigantic long table.
Wow.
So it was
Went
quite
across the whole
went
wall.
across the whole ballroom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
The
so-
setup.
Yeah.
and Coach Salius did a great job of hosting, and of course, Ann McNeil, the AD from Housatonic, was there, along with Josh Penn, the AD from the Gilbert School, and really they did a first-class job. The staff at Crystal Peak is always very good. The food was good, and they kept things moving along as well.
Actually, it was very fast. Yeah, and Megan Sheeby,
Megan Sheeby did
GNH
cheer
cheerleading
squad
coach,
was
got up and did a nice presentation for all of her cheerleaders. So it was good, but it was one of the quickest.
yes,
Even
it was.
with that many kids, it went very fast.
And it was nice that they did that because partway through it started snowing.
Yeah.
So I know some of the people had to
Housatonic,
travel
yeah,
pretty
right,
far.
right,
Had to go up to
yeah.
Salisbury, Canaan, and Falls
Right,
Village
right.
afterwards. So, all in all, a nice job. And of course, on Thanksgiving morning, they got the season-ending win against St. Paul, 44-8 on a rainy,
Yeah.
raw,
Rain.
cold
Woo.
Van Wy Field. Is a shame because every other game this year, the weather was perfect
Yeah,
pretty
right,
much.
Yeah, right.
And the season finale was just dreadful weather
Frozen.
conditions.
We were frozen even in the box.
Yeah,
I
it
felt
was-
sorry for
At least we were dry.
At least
Yeah,
that's
we
one
were
good
dry,
thing. Thank
yeah.
God we were dry. Because
Yeah.
I don't know how those kids did it.
Yeah. Luckily, Mike, too, I had those page protectors, because
the
the
plastic.
bottom of the plastic, because for our rosters,
Right.
we were
Even though
keep
the
our
wind kind of
rosters.
blew it in a
It
little
blew the
bit. It
rain
was
in
blowing the
there,
rain
yeah,
in.
the whole time. They also did senior day that
Yeah.
that day, which was different thing. We've never done it on Thanksgiving before, but they didn't want. It was a weird schedule we had this year, and so the last home game before that was on homecoming, and so they didn't want to do it the same as homecoming.
Too bad. That probably would have been the
It
day.
would have been a lot easier.
That was a beautiful day.
It was a
Because
beautiful
and then they
day.
also did
Yeah.
the band,
Yeah,
seniors, and they were just there.
yeah,
The band wasn't there at all.
Yeah,
And the cheerleaders too were the same. You know, it
Yeah.
was just quick. It was a quick thing.
cheerleaders in their ponchos and
It
everything.
was
And
just
everybody, all the parents had dining canopies set up in the
They had
stands and
tents.
everything.
they had
Tents and
tents and
everything out
everything,
there. The food people all had big tents out there. So it rained the whole time we were there.
Hey, and the
And
field
for-
held up pretty good too.
Field
I was
held up
surprised.
very
I
nice.
was really surprised.
Yep.
Just shows you how dry the field probably was.
Exactly.
Because you know what the field it absorbed, sucked it right, and then you could see the puddles on the side. I saw there was one puddle that I told him we could stock it for a fishing boat.
Yeah,
That's
right. It was like
how
Pedro's
deep it
Pond
was.
there. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
And you could see it just growing as the game went
Well,
along, right?
You know, we said,
It
oh,
got
Billy
bigger,
would say,
bigger.
oh, it looks like it's stopping a little. All of a sudden, 5 minutes later, we're looking for it. It just
Hard.
opened up.
Hard.
Oh, it stopped again. Look at you. We couldn't wait to get in the car that day, man. I'll tell you, it was just but I'm glad for them. They won the game and they played pretty good.
And
you know?
actually, they ended up winning 3 of their final 4 games.
Right.
So at
Which
least
was
they
nice.
ended the season on a high note. Of course,
Right.
it wasn't the season that they were hoping for during the preseason. They had really much higher expectations, but the injury bug just
Right.
took a terrible toll on the team, and they lost 2 close games at the
those two
beginning
games,
of the
yeah,
year,
yeah.
and that really kind of set the tone for the rest of the season. They got off to a really rough start at 0-6, but as I said, they won 3 of their last 4 to at least go off on a high note. And it is a big junior class that's returning next year, along with one of the bigger freshman classes they've ever had from this past year. And I don't know what the size of the incoming freshman class will be, but there is some hope for the future.
Yeah.
And they send 5, 6 or 7 seniors, 7 seniors off. They played their final game on Thanksgiving morning, and then at the banquet last night they gave out some nice awards. We'll try to recap some of those for you, but all in all, a good way to end the season.
Yep, and Coach mentioned it last night too. That number 38, Jackson Campbell, I think was his name. He was the senior. He didn't get to play. It was his only year on the team and everything. But he made a big hit on
We saw that. That's what
Thanksgiving.
they all went crazy.
Yeah, they all went crazy, and luckily Will told me who it was.
Yeah,
I didn't know who it was.
We
right?
didn't even have
Yeah,
him on the sheet.
Yeah, right. So everybody was happy for him, and a couple other people. Owen Adams scored a touchdown too on the. He got some runs in there, so that was nice to see. That he came back this year. Owen Reamer had a 18-yard touchdown run and a 60-yard touchdown reception. So Reamer had a really nice day, and Everett Rigby had a couple of touchdowns, a 1-yard one and a 9-yard run for a touchdown. So, and then who got the offensive MVP last night? Owen Stimson. You just can't say enough about him. To step
did a
up.
great job. He did a really good job.
Really did a good
just
job.
unbelievable what he was able to accomplish, starting the season as an offensive guard and ending it as your starting quarterback and playing the position pretty well.
Yeah,
pretty well.
Even on Thanksgiving Day in the rain, he was 3 for 7, 99 yards passing, 2 touchdowns with that longest 60-yard pass, and then he had 10 carries for 48 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, he ended up with,
around.
I think they said 6 touchdown passes last night on the season. He had over 250 yards rushing.
Right.
Once he converted to quarterback instead of blocking for the running backs, he was the running back for a good part of the season. And we should also mention Leif Johnson had a really excellent season all around, but especially the second half of the season.
He led the team in rushing.
He led the team in rushing. And he had some long touchdown runs during that second half of the season. And there were 3 players that were named all NVL. Owen Stimson was first team. And then Everett Rigby and Nick Mambrino were second team all NVL honorees. So very nice job by those young men. It's not easy to make that. The NVL is a big league.
It is.
And especially when your team doesn't have a great overall record. You know, usually those teams don't get quite as much recognition. So
and they don't take a lot of players.
They don't take a lot of players.
They don't take a lot of players on it. So that was a really big honor for them to do that. And we'll see, you know, for All-State. So maybe someone
we'll
will
see.
get up there.
We'll
right?
see if anybody will be named to the All-State team. But you know, they gave out some other awards as well, and Leif Johnson got the award for being. What was the name of it? What did they call the award? It was
most outstanding,
sort of the most outstanding overall player, and that takes into account academics, extracurricular activities, and how you play and how you conduct yourself on and off the field. And you know, he did a really good job.
And you know, you think about it. I talked to him a little bit after. You know, he sang the national anthem. He played the national anthem. He was the lead in the play up at Northwestern, right? So he is just a well-rounded,
very well-rounded, yes. And he won the NBL weightlifting competition in his weight class.
Yeah. Over 900 pounds in his three lifts. Yeah, crazy, right? So it's just all around. I like that. I didn't get to ask him like, what are his plans, you know, going forward?
Yeah,
we asked him back in the beginning, Mike, and I don't remember what he said.
He said he was very unsure what he wanted to do. We asked him that in the preseason interview show, but he, you know, it's a shame that he only played 2 years. It would have been I would like to see how well he could have done had he played all 4 years, but it. You know, GNH is grateful that he did play his final 2 years, because really in his junior year he basically just played JV. Really didn't get any varsity time, and then
he didn't play Wolverines, I don't think, before. Or if he did a little bit, not much, but he had to learn everything. Right, in these 2 years. That's not easy. Right, to start from nothing. Right.
Absolutely, it's hard.
To be able to do it. It's very hard. You know, to learn all those plays and everything. It's not so easy.
Not so easy.
What your responsibilities are, right?
Yeah.
To do that every time. Yep.
But you know, it was you know, a good way to wrap up the season. Again, they finished with a final record of 3-7, which you know doesn't sound like much considering what their preseason expectations were, but. You know, they did win 3 of their final 4, and 3-7 just sounds a lot better than 2-8.
But look at the conference they're in.
You got to remember
they're the second or third best conference in the state.
Yes.
You got to remember where you are.
Yeah, their strength of schedule was second of all the teams in the state.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about what you know, and that's I don't care where anybody.
Torrington, you know, ended up.
I don't care what anybody says. When you're in a conference like that, you know you got a good team when you got a good team, and that's the whole thing. And that tests you, you know, just like us. And now, you know, Pequot was nothing. You could say whatever. I don't know. To you guys, I don't know. But to me,
Stafford had some teams sometimes.
But to me, it's nothing.
Yeah. This Granby's been
good, right?
But do you have any Ansonia? Do you have a freaking That's what I'm saying. You think about what you're playing.
Sure.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because the state playoffs started this past Tuesday. You know, and the kind of Connecticut has that weird playoff system where you play Tuesday after Thanksgiving, and then the winners play this Sunday, and then the winners of those games play the following Friday night or Saturday.
But you can't have contact during practices, you know, at so many times or whatever. But you can play every 5 days.
Yeah, in the playoffs, which makes some money for the CIAC. Right. But the Pequot League they had 6 teams that qualified. None of them won their games. So the NBL had 7 teams that qualified. They went 3-4. All 3 of their winners were in Class S. The other teams, Naugatuck, Watertown, who am I leaving out? Kennedy, and there's one more team that I'm leaving out, but they all lost their games. And then Ansonia, Waterbury Career, who was the 8th seed in Class S, beat the number 1 seed.
Wow.
Capital Prep, and then Woodland beat Cromwell. Handily. They won pretty easily. So Naugatuck is the other team that lost for the NBL. So
number 1 seed.
They were the number 1 seed in Class L, but they lost to the number 8 seed, Notre Dame of West Haven. So it's still a good way to end the season. Let's end it there. But we have a couple of other fall sports that we need to talk about since we haven't been on the air for a while. We should give kudos to the Northwestern boys soccer team. Made it to the Class S state final. Unfortunately, they lost to Berkshire League rival Chapag in the final for the state, but
bad taste there.
And that was the third time the two teams had met. It was the rubber match, and Chapag took the rubber match and the state title. But it was a great season by Coach Andy Campbell's soccer team to make it to the state finals. It was their first time ever making it that far.
Give them a lot of credit.
So a great season by them.
And I also thank the JV team, Dan Penton. He did a great job too with the JV boys. So he did a really good job with them, helping them out. A couple of those guys moved up and did play in the state tournament game. And in fact, I know one of the kids that scored a goal in one of the games. So which
that's pretty cool.
Pretty good. So
really.
And they we had our fall banquet. It wasn't a banquet. It was more of just an awards type night.
Oh, okay.
And they were hailed as and they should have been.
Like Mike
fantastic.
Said, that's the first time
ever
in the finals, right?
It's fantastic.
Semifinals, it was a lot of years, right? It was like 30 years before they last made the semi. So
they had a great year.
And we did that game the time against Northwestern, which was a very good, very physical game. That ended up as a tie.
Yeah.
But you could see that like Hortzman he's a good goalie.
He is. He is. They had a great. They had a great season.
Gudic kid, yeah.
Well, I heard that. Well, I didn't go to the game, but I heard they double and triple teamed him. They shut him down. That was
right.
They knew that.
Yeah. So just put him on.
But the game that propelled them into the state final was something. They had to come from behind. Granby. They were trailing 3-1 in the second half, and they equalized it to force overtime, and then they won in overtime.
Yes.
So.
Did they beat three of the North Central Conference teams?
Yes,
or whatever, right?
They did.
They beat Summers,
right?
Granby,
and there was one other one.
East Granby.
So three of them.
Yeah, no.
They needed another one.
That believe it or not, was one of the conferences that Northwestern Regional is looking at, supposedly.
Yeah, I know.
As opposed to the Naugatuck. Because
for all other sports.
All other sports. Right.
League,
but to me, if you go with football, you should probably go with all the other sports to the Naugatuck League. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
that North Central doesn't have football.
No, most of their members that play football are in the Pequot League,
which Pequot League. I know.
GNS came from.
So why would you want to go there?
So it wouldn't make sense to go back.
Because we're just thinking, basketball is going to start now. They got 6 out of conference games.
I know. Well, and now what? Say what you want.
Maybe
Thomaston, and Terryville are probably eventually going to combine.
Well, if they combine,
and what's to say Gilbert and Regional aren't going to do it?
I don't know, right?
If Gilbert was smart, I think they would do it.
Yeah.
If Gilbert was smart,
it's the whole
Gilbert Trust,
right?
Which may never allow it, but
big deal. How much money do they have in the trust? I wonder what Mr.
Well,
Gilbert
I don't know.
Nobody knows
quite a bit.
Did he?
They give out more scholarships than any other school I've ever seen, and not just for 1 year. They do it for all 4 years.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So I'd like to. I wonder if somebody can get the information. If I talk to Josh Penn or one of those guys to see if he can come up with the information.
But
because I'm curious,
obviously they have a lot though, or they have some control over it. The whole thing.
Well, they do.
We'll see.
But the way things are dwindling there, that's the thing that scares you. You don't have anybody going to that school.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah,
is it worth even keeping the school open?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, yeah, it is interesting to see, and they're just keep getting smaller and smaller. Even regional's getting smaller.
They are now. They were at their peak a couple of years ago. Now things are starting to.
Even that's why they were in Class S for soccer. They'd always been in Class M.
We were in Class M. Girls were in Class M.
Right.
Boys were in Class S.
Right, because they go by boys' population and girls' population. Right.
They separate.
Yeah. Right.
The next year will probably be S because I think they dropped off a lot too.
The girls did too. Yeah. I didn't see. Are they in Division 5 for basketball? I don't remember now.
I'm not even sure.
I know.
So
we'll have to look that up since the season's about to start.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about the local high school scene on the fall sports that are just wrapping up now, and then on to the winter sports. And
Yeah, and
Billy just alluded to basketball season. They were supposed to start practice
They
tonight.
did start. They did practice. They did start.
Even without school?
Yeah, swimming did too.
Oh.
Swimming and girls basketball started Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And these
They've been
guys
doing
started Thursday night. Boys and swimming just opened up, and I'm sure wrestling, everything must have opened up tonight.
Yeah.
They weren't sure if they were going to be allowed to have practice because, well, especially
no school.
being swimming at the Y and everything else. So, but they did. So they let them there, and then basketball also. Boys basketball started.
They got to go.
They started tonight. So.
And then it's the
So we could have
games.
gone down to the Gilbert was probably practicing too. They would have let us in.
They probably would have.
I texted the custodian and he said no, the school was closed. So,
But that's okay.
That's
That's
But
all right. But
it's nice and warm here in Billy's
They have to
basement.
make a decision on that, anyways. Maybe they didn't decide to have it open.
Yeah.
Where regional did decide. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
So you don't know on that.
Yeah. And it is their choice.
It
right?
is their choice. If they
right?
want to open, if they
It's
don't.
not a hard, fast rule. If there's no school, there's nothing.
Yeah,
after
there's
it, you know?
nothing on that.
It's not really.
No.
Right. It usually happens, but not always. Right,
No.
to do it.
Well,
and they
especially-
need these times now.
Well,
They don't
especially
have.
now you have to get
Yeah, the games start.
you have to get 10
quickly.
practices before you can freaking get on the floor.
I know.
So if you start missing one or two,
Yeah,
unless
I
you
know.
get a couple more snow
So
days
that's
or
why.
anything like that.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, so you
I'm
gotta-
sure
you gotta
Mark was
take those.
practicing too.
Yeah, no. So
You had
you
to,
got to
'cause-
get them in.
Well, I know the Gilbert girls start Saturday, September 14th is their first.
I mean,
game.
December 14th.
December 14th.
September. I'd like
You're thinking back to the start of football season.
Our anniversary.
Our
right?
anniversary.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
that's when they
December
start?
14th. That's
You
their
know,
first game.
That's jamming a lot of practices in before that. You
Right.
know,
Right. Yeah. And
And get
they've
10.
had a few days before, right? Because they got to go. They start early. The girls
Tuesday.
start
They
on
start
Tuesday.
Tuesday, or maybe Monday or Tuesday.
I
my
know.
wife
'Cause
said.
usually they get almost a whole week in front, but it's
Usually.
been a little bit different lately.
Right.
Yeah. The guys have started a little bit sooner.
Right, and the problem with that is you get 6 days in, and that's it. You have to take a day off. You
Oh, is
have to
that
take
right?
a day off. You can't take 7 days.
So you can't do 7 in a
No,
row.
because
Right?
soccer, we had to take one
Right.
day off. So,
Right.
so you
Right.
can run 6 days, and that's it. You take one day
And
off.
then you have to have a day
You have
off.
to have a day off.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so
Right.
it's coming
so
up
you think
fast.
about that. That's
Yeah.
you jam that and jam that Sunday, and you can't practice on Sunday, so you practice Saturday.
Right.
Sunday you take off, and
Sunday's
then Monday
your
you
day
start
off.
again. So
Right.
that's a weekend already. And that's only 6 days.
Right.
Think about it.
Yeah, you need 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So you can't miss practice. You miss a practice, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
it is coming right up though, and we were talking about it a little bit last night that we know that when the crosstown rivals, Gilbert and Northwestern, play each other in basketball, we'll be there covering it
Yeah.
for Just Sports Winsted. The first matchup in that series is January 2nd, Thursday night up at Gilbert for the Gilbert girls hosting the Northwestern girls. And then the next night, Friday night, January 3rd, are the boys.
Oh, so they separated?
Yeah, because
They
Gilbert
separate
can't
'cause-
handle it, and that's what they used to try to do it, but it just wasn't worth it because
Right.
you
Because nobody you don't
the-
get all the people in.
you
that
couldn't
want.
get the people you just couldn't fit all the people in there.
Well, plus it's 2 opportunities for the golden voice of the Berkshire League,
right.
for Billy Richmond to do the public
Yeah.
address announcing, and then the 2 teams will play each other up at Northwestern just about a month later on February 7th. But that will be a double header that night on Friday night.
That's a great night.
The girls at like 5:30 and the boys
That's
following.
awesome. I like that.
So
yeah,
that's always
I'm
a
gonna-
good outing. So.
we got to get Leif to play the national anthem. again
Yeah,
that night, man.
that's
Play
right.
Jimi Hendrix version. That'll be awesome. Yeah. We'll get him come sit in with us too.
Yeah.
Right, for a little bit. He doesn't play basketball, right? I've never
don't
seen
think
him.
so.
I don't believe
No,
so, but
right.
who knows?
Who
He's
knows now?
got
Maybe
all
he'll
this
start,
talent.
yeah.
Maybe he'll
Yeah.
bring it to the hard court. But
Stimson will be there.
Owen Stimson will be there.
Right.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to it. We'll
Yes.
cover those games that we just spoke about for Just Sports Winstead, and then as the season moves towards its conclusion with the Berkshire League tournament and then the state tournament, we'll try to cover more of those games if we can.
We'll have to find out where they're going to be at. Last year the girls were up in Chippewa and the boys were at Thomaston, and we actually got to go to both places, and it worked out. Very
because
well.
the girls won the Berkshire League tournament.
Northwestern, yeah.
Northwestern girls
Yeah.
won the Berkshire League tournament, defeating Thomaston in a big comeback victory.
Yeah.
And it was
Tale
really
of two
exciting.
halves.
Tale of 2 halves
Yeah.
that night. So, And then the boys tournament was great down at Thomas, and it was one of the best tournaments, even though Northwestern didn't advance to the final. They actually asked us to come and cover the final.
Yeah, that was
it
great.
It was great. So we did that, and it was Thomaston versus. I'm sorry, it was Chippewa versus Nonawag in the final.
The game before with Thomaston played Nonawag, I think.
Yes.
And Northwestern played Chippewa. And those games were
great
too.
Yeah.
So the semifinals were great, and then the final was a great, just a fantastic game. Just behind that Gilbert Northwestern game we did back at Thomaston, way back when Austin Brochu, right?
Yeah,
was on the Gilbert team, and Gilbert came from behind and won that game. That was a crazy game. Yeah. That was a long time ago.
That was a raucous crowd that night.
Man.
Wow.
Yeah, those places rocking.
But I did mention that one other thing before we move on to something else is that if anybody is interested in watching the state high school football semifinal round, that's this Sunday at the higher seeded team. So there's, the playoffs started with 48 teams. They trimmed it after Tuesday night's games down to 24. And then, of course, they'll come up with 12 teams that emerge out of the semifinal round. And then they'll play 6 state championship games on the following weekend at either Rentschler Field or Root Field at Central Connecticut State University. And all the local teams, unfortunately, didn't fare very well in the high school football playoffs. Unfortunately, Torrington, which was the number 3 seed, and they got to host a game on Tuesday night at Robert Frost Sports Complex down at Torrington High. They took it on the chin to Massac High of Monroe, who was the number 6 seed. They lost 41-0.
Snowy field there.
Snowy field
hurt
their running attack a little bit, I think.
Right. But Massac is just
Massac's out of the Southwest Conference. This year in football, the Southwest Conference, the Southern Connecticut Conference, and the FSAC were the 3 best football conferences.
Yeah, the CCC did not do.
CCC is the biggest conference, but it didn't. Their teams didn't fare that well in the playoffs. We mentioned that the Pequot teams lost all 6 of their games. Watertown High lost to St. Joe's 42-7. Naugatuck lost to Notre Dame at West Haven 15-7.
Right.
And then
Torrington was 41-0.
Yeah. But Ansonia did beat Valley Regional, and then Woodland beat Cromwell 33-7, and then Waterbury Career snuck in as the 8th seed in Class S, beat the number 1 seed, unbeaten Capital Prep out of Hartford, 42-28. So good for Waterbury Career. This is their second consecutive playoff appearance. And then the other Naugatuck Valley League team, Kennedy, who made their first ever appearance as a number 8 seed in Class L, they unfortunately lost 51-8 to Fairfield Prep. So,
did you see the article in the paper today, Pat? There was a nice article about Kennedy and just saying, because this is the first time ever that they've made it to a state playoff game, and they got to play at Fairfield Prep. Mm-hmm. So they got into a 2,600 seat stadium, with their own locker room, their own trainer. This is beautiful. So their coach would say that Coach Sarlo was just telling them, hey, suck all this in, remember all this, this is what you worked all so hard for to do, to come and play at a place like this, so very kudos for them, right?
And realistically, their victory in the second game of the year over Gilbert Northwestern Housatonic, G&H, in a comeback victory where they scored a touchdown with only 2 minutes left to beat G&H 20-17. They needed that victory. They needed every victory they could get, and they just snuck in as the 8th seed in Class L. But in the last year, they had just missed out by this much. They were 6-4 last year. This year, they were 7-3. And they got into the playoffs, and that made all the difference. So
then, Mike, we did have that Northwest United had a forfeit.
Yes,
they forfeited their playoff.
The Northwest United is the co-op that used to be Oliver Wolcott Tech's co-op, but it includes Nonawag and Chippewa, and there's like 5 schools in this co-op. But
Why did they forfeit?
They forfeited. They were going to have to play the number 1 team in the state, Windsor. And they said after the Thanksgiving game
they lost.
Which they
to
lost.
Abbott Tech,
Which
right?
they lost to Abbott Tech. And it wasn't even on Thanksgiving. It was like the night before, I think.
Either the night before or Tuesday.
Or the
It might have
Tuesday.
been I think it was Wednesday. It was Wednesday. Yep.
Yeah, and they suffered a lot of injuries apparently in the game, and their coaching staff felt that they would have to play a lot of freshmen in this game against the number one team in the state, Windsor, and they elected to forfeit, but they didn't really announce that till Saturday night or Sunday, and the result of that was that Holy Cross out of the NVL could have ended up qualifying. They were the number 9 seeded team, and they were just a few points behind Northwest United. And they could have played, but the CIAC said, no, we're just going to give Windsor a forfeit victory, and they move on to the semifinals.
Yeah, but that's not.
Yeah,
but I don't care. You still show up. I don't care. You know what? You get beat. You get beat. What are you going to do?
I mean, it's possible.
Even
if they were completely healthy, the score could have been a lot.
Well, and it's just like us. They use the running time. I'm sure they would do that.
And there was actually 4 or 5 running time games in the playoffs.
I mean, to me, I think you just copped out. Because you earn that, and I don't care what
it is kind of too bad for the kids.
Right. It is for the kids.
I mean, they actually qualified last year for the playoff, the third year in a row they qualified.
But I'm just wondering if the coaches made the decision or they let the kids make the decision.
It's going to be interesting because when Nottawa comes to Gilbert, I'm going to talk to that Brady Herman kid, right?
Yeah.
Say, what happened?
Or Reed Warner.
Was it the coaches that did it, or was it the kids
we'll
that
have
did
to
it?
ask them. Yeah.
Right. I'm like,
Brady Herman was the quarterback,
He's
and
the
Reed
quarterback.
Warner was a wide receiver. So,
and was Reed is he at Nottawa or Chippewa?
I think he's from. I'm sorry. I think he's from Chippewa.
I know. I get all those kids that instead they meld together or whatever. But
I think he's
it's
from
because both of them go there. When you only think of Nottawa being on the football team, really,
right?
You know? Both of them play in there. So.
Yeah. So it was kind of an interesting decision by the CIAC. I mean, I think they should have let Holy Cross play. I think that would have been an interesting game, I think, because Holy Cross has a very good set of skill position players, and they could have given Windsor a little bit of a battle, whereas Northwest United, coming out of the Tech League, was really realistically not going to put up much of a
Tech School still have not won
a game. Although, Bullard Havens, to their credit, came fairly close. They lost to Waterford by 6 points.
Okay.
22-16 or something like that, which Bullard Havens has won a playoff game before, but it was against another Tech team. So a Tech school team has not beaten a non-Tech school team in the playoffs. There's been a couple of instances where Tech schools played against each other. So somebody obviously had to win.
And that's another thing with CIAC. The Tech League should just be a Tech League.
It really should. I think they should have their own champion.
Why do you
have their own?
There's been also a proposal to have not just the Tech schools, but all the smaller co-op football playing schools to possibly be in the same division.
What's wrong with that? That's fine. But what they do to those kids aren't there for any kind of sports. They're there to some kind of education. Electrician,
learn a trade.
They're not there to do that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like
better.
We end up playing a Tech team, Platt Tech or something. And we ended up beating them 6-0. I mean, they didn't even know what hit them. You know what I'm saying? And we were nothing to brag about. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I know.
I mean, we finished the middle of the pack in
to
the
me,
Berkshire League.
That would make the most sense. Get those Tech schools and some of the smaller,
that really would make the most, and then just put everybody else into 5 divisions.
Right, and this is the 6th.
That would be the 6th if you want to keep 6 divisions.
And I don't know why nobody doesn't bitch and moan about it. The Tech schools should all bitch and moan about it.
I think they have, but it's fallen on deaf ears, unfortunately.
CIAC, because they don't want to hear anything. They think they're doing the right thing, and they're not.
No, it's too bad because
CIAC is just
the kids, like you said, the kids earned a spot in the playoffs, and yet in this case, because of the forfeit, they couldn't even play. But even when they do play against other non-Tech schools, they just can't compete. And
they're usually the last seed, right? And so they're always playing the top seed, and it's just
Right.
You know,
It's a tough situation. I hope they take another look at it this winter, and
especially after that forfeit like that.
Yeah.
Right? To see,
yeah. Well,
maybe
it
there's
will be
something.
interesting to see if it really was purely injury driven, or did they just
I'm sure
see the
it's a little bit of
handwriting
both,
on the
right?
wall and say, look, this game could be 100-0.
Right. And we don't want to get anybody.
There
hurt.
was a game in the playoffs. Killingly beat Ellington 75-19. 75. It was 69-0.
So what does that prove?
69.
What does that prove? And that's on the coach. That's on the coach. The other coach. You know what? And I'm just telling you, I had it happen to me once. I circle that game. If I ever got a chance once to throttle them, I would do the same thing. But that's
what if the coach had his JV? We don't know if he had his JV.
Well, I don't know, but you can.
There's a lot of
things.
things scored like 4 defensive touchdowns.
There's a lot of things you could do to keep that from.
But you can't have a
40-0 or 45-0. That's plenty.
Right.
70s. That's just embarrassing.
But you can't. If a kid gets an interception and he can run it back, you can't tell him to slide down or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
well,
the whole.
Apparently, that's what happened.
You put your JVs in. You put your freshmen.
Put your
in, you put all these
JV,
things.
right.
What do you have to do?
Right.
You have to do that.
You have to do that.
If you're a good coach,
right.
if you're a lousy coach who doesn't give a damn and just wants to embarrass somebody.
I can't believe anybody would do that, but
I'm
good
just
people
saying.
do. Well, and Sonia in basketball.
This is
did
the
it together.
Jack Cochran from New London, wasn't he? Pardon my
Yeah.
English.
Yeah, he did it.
Yeah, he
He
did
used
it
to
all
do it
the
all the
time,
time,
and the
yeah.
state instituted a rule at one point,
Right.
just been
50-point
rescinded, that if you were up over 50 points, if you won the game by more than 50 points, your coach were suspended for the next game.
Yeah,
How
But,
many games did he get suspended?
No, he got suspended for none, but
'Cause
it was just named after
Oh, it was
him.
named after
It was named after him because he
No,
was the
I
one
know.
who
It's
inspired
bad.
it.
It's-
You don't why do you want to embarrass anybody? Like
No.
that? Anybody. Why? What's the reason? What's the purpose?
No,
No.
you don't want to do that.
But
we want to say hello to Todd Ransom too.
Yeah, we sat at his table last night.
I heard you you wind these guys up a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Todd,
Good
call up
Todd.
if you're there.
Yeah, give us a call.
He says he records
2
it.
days,
and
yeah,
he
2
comes
days later he
back,
listens.
860-605-7622 if you happen to be watching tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
If you call 2 days from now, we won't answer.
Yeah, right.
So, but let's move on. I mean, there's a lot of other things
How
we could
about some
talk about.
football? How
Let's-
about the big game tonight? The Packers,
Packers and the
Lions.
Lions.
How about
Yeah.
that? I got
The
that.
Lions
circled
have
right now.
qualified for the playoffs already, but this will go a long way to determining if the Lions or the Packers win the NFC North.
Right. Well, I'm just saying if the Packers lose tonight, I think then it'll be between the Vikings and the Detroit Lions but the Packers will be eliminated, but they'll still be in the playoffs.
So still could
They're still
qualify for the playoffs,
Yeah.
right?
The 3.5-point underdogs right now, which I don't think is a lot. You know what? Detroit's pretty beat up right now too. That's the other thing. And if you watch the last game that Detroit played the Bears,
Bears, yeah, they almost,
barely won that game.
Right.
yeah, they got Eberflus.
Yeah, they got Eberflus, all right. So, but the only thing is Jordan Love has to stay in control here, not throw the ball around like he likes to do. And he hasn't. The last 3 games he's played fairly well. So,
I heard a commentator today say that right now he thought Jordan Love was the best quarterback in the NFL.
Really?
Wow.
And he said he was for the final 5 games of last season. And obviously he got hurt in that first game this year down in Brazil against the Eagles. But he said now that he's healthy again, he thinks he's the best quarterback in the NFL.
Well, if you look at him, he's got some good wide receivers.
He does.
And
their running game
Josh
has really
Jacobs
improved.
is a beast. You know that?
So when you have all of those weapons, that really helps.
Right, it does help a lot.
And their defense is okay. It's not great.
So
it's
listen,
okay.
I'm going to propose something to you, Giant fans. Now, you're going to laugh at me all you want. Listen, listen to me.
We are tanking.
Listen, I watched Jameis Winston play. Listen,
Right.
listen, I don't care. You know what?
Yeah,
If I'm the Giants, I'm going after him. You know what? I could reel him in. I could make him not throw interceptions because you know what? He threw for 497 yards. Granted, he threw for 2 interceptions.
Right.
But you know what? He could be a go-to guy 2 or 3 years until you find somebody.
Yeah, no.
I'm serious.
There's been a lot of talk about a bridge quarterback.
And I think he'd be a
could be
perfect
one.
bridge quarterback for you
Sam
guys.
Darnold.
Sam Darnold is another one.
To
Yes.
get out
Yes.
there, right? To do that because makes some sense, you
Right.
know, unless you can get the Sanders kid there, right?
Yeah, but I don't even like
yeah.
him. I watch
Yeah, I
him.
know.
I'm not
I'm not
impressed.
sure, but
Cam Ward's the other one there all the
Cam
time.
Ward, yeah.
I don't like him either. I watch
Right.
these guys.
I
I'm not
know.
impressed. It's
I
going to
know.
take them 2 or 3 years to figure something out.
Right.
But, you know, that's the whole idea of the bridge quarterback.
Yeah,
Let
so
the
that
bridge
what
quarterback play for
Right.
2 years and let whoever you draft learn.
Right.
That's what Jordan Love did.
Or
That's
yeah,
what Aaron
yeah,
Rodgers did. That's what
Or
Patrick
Manning,
Mahomes
too.
did.
Well, you know, they're bashing Jameis Winston. I'm looking at him saying, you know what? He played pretty
But he,
decent.
you know, it's funny because
You know
he
something?
To throw for that many
You
yards.
could say whatever. And Denver's defense is pretty decent, too.
Denver's defense
They're
is very
decent.
good. Yeah.
And I'm just saying, granted, he threw 2 interceptions. All right, he gets crazy. But you can reel this guy in. You know what? If you're Gable, you could reel this guy in a little bit. I'm telling you, I like that. I'm looking at myself and saying, the Giants, you know what? 2 years or 3 years of this guy, you could do
How
it.
many years has he been in the league now, Winston?
I don't know. He's the
I
number
think
one.
about 10 years.
Was he a
Is
number
that
one?
many?
It was Winston and
Jeez,
Mariota
wow.
that went 1 and 2
That's
in the
right,
draft,
right.
which I think
Jeez,
was
Mike, it's that many years.
2014 or 2015.
Yeah. Wow.
One of those.
I'm still
That's
saying
crazy.
he looked
Yeah,
good to
no.
me, man. I was
He did.
watching him throw
Oh,
the
he looked
ball.
really
I'm
good,
saying,
yeah.
boy, he's right there. He made Jerry Jeudy look like freaking.
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy
Jerry
had over
Rice for
200
crying out
yards
loud.
receiving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy. Can I tell you something? I had him in Denver on my strata,
Roster?
my
Yeah.
roster.
Yeah.
He was a bum.
Never did much.
He was a
yeah.
bum. Don't kid yourself. He was a
Wow.
bum.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm looking at James Winston. I'm saying, what the heck is it?
He's given
They were
he's
crazy.
given the Browns
450.
offense a lot of credibility because
Yeah.
they actually can score points now. And
Yes.
oh, we got a call here, so let's take the call. Just Sports, go ahead, Colorado.
You just simmer down, Patsy. Dable will find a way to ruin Jameis Winston.
No, he won't.
I don't think Dayball's going to be there to ruin him.
Oh.
Yeah, Shador's going to be at the G-Men.
You think so?
That's what all the scuttlebutt. There was something on ESPN yesterday or today about that.
I wasn't too
But,
impressed. I'm not impressed with him. I'm sorry. I think he needs 2 or 3 years anyways to sit. You know?
He's actually pretty good. I was a skeptic at first, but man, he can throw the ball, and he lit up so many teams this year. But it was weird. The CU had these weird periods in every single game. It was usually like a quarter or two where they would just totally deflate. They would get a big lead, and then they would just let off the gas, and he would make a bunch of mistakes. And so who knows? But Jameis did play an incredible game against the Broncos, and he probably should have won. But he had 170-plus yards receiving to the Broncos.
Yeah, I know.
But
Well,
don't you
he
think,
threw for 670 yards?
Yeah, right.
Rob, but don't you think you can reel him in a little bit? You know what I'm saying? You get the right.
You know, he's that's always been his Achilles. He's always been a pick monster, and that's kind of he's just going to play all out. But it's my God, is it exciting? Even if it just got people in the stands to come out and watch a loss of.
That's what the
45.
Giants need is a reason to watch
Right.
because they're a god awful team to watch.
Right.
And even if he
no offensive production.
if he screws up, at least he'll make things exciting. You know, he did have one really year that just encapsulates what you just said. When I think he was with the Buccaneers, he threw for 5,000 yards, which is a really high number, but he also had 33 or 35 interceptions.
Well, but he had Mike Evans and he had the other guy. He had some good wide receivers.
I think that he was there the year before Brady got there.
Rob, imagine him throwing the Neighbors. Geez, what do you think he would do with Neighbors' numbers? What do you think would happen there?
That would be impressive. And in Jerry Judy's defense, he played under some of the worst quarterbacks and the worst offensive schemes.
I know.
So now that he has somebody that can actually throw the ball to him, he's starting to really come out. And that's good to see for him.
I know. I had him on my team. That's why. And he just every week he couldn't get points because he had nobody. You're right. Nobody could throw him the ball. You know.
Yeah, the weird thing is why the Broncos, they had a backup in covering Judy for, I'm guessing, the vast majority of the game, and they only moved Surtain over to cover Judy in the fourth quarter, and Judy only had 20 yards receiving on three pass attempts, and he only caught 2 of them. Right. So it would have been a totally different game if the Broncos had made some changes earlier in the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But he kind of wanted to show his team up a little bit, his old team.
Judy.
He was hanging on the crowd. He was going nuts.
He was. You see him? He was going.
Give it to him.
Yeah, right.
But good for him. I'm glad he had a good game against his old team.
Yeah. Jameis would look good in the Giant uniform, I think. He really would.
Interesting.
And the Broncos are 8-5 and in playoff contention. So
and that Bo Nix is really forming into a fine young man.
I like him.
Yeah.
I like him.
Right?
You know what? What's his name? I guess Peyton knew what he was doing. You know that?
yeah, he got rid of the old guy, Russell Wilson, and foisted him off on the Steelers. And now, he's doing okay for the Steelers too.
Right there too.
So.
Yeah, that's so bizarre how he could just be so abysmal, but when he was with the Broncos and then go to the Steelers. But the Steelers don't really, they have thrown a bunch of long balls with that moon arc that Russell Wilson loves to throw.
Yeah.
But they don't do it a lot. They do it, 4 or 5 times a game. So who knows? The Broncos never had a decent offensive line, which I think is really what makes the difference for a quarterback to be successful or not.
Yeah.
And a running back.
Yeah.
You see, Saquon is going to set the all-time record probably.
I know.
And he might do it in the final game of the year against the Giants.
Oh.
That'll be beautiful.
That would be poetic justice for John Mara, the owner of the Giants.
Jeez.
Crazy. That was amazing that how his whole season has turned around. Same thing. He wasn't that great. Saquon was hurt a lot, but he was hurt because the line sucked. And he was getting beat up every game.
Yeah.
Right.
It's amazing what a good offensive line can
see what he's
do.
doing with the line he's behind now. Whew.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Honestly,
touching
I
him.
have no idea why the draft is always for quarterbacks. You should be picking a left tackle they should be the top pick every year.
Yeah, they really should. Teams should be built if they're built the right way from the inside out, meaning your offensive and defensive lines. And then once you have that in place, put the skilled position players around. But that's not the way a lot of teams choose to do it.
Giants try to do that, and they get Evan Neal, right? And
Yeah.
you're like,
It hurts.
that's a great pick.
It hurts when you miss on that.
and
That's
you
for sure.
You get nothing,
Yep. What about UConn going to a bowl game? Is there just joy in Hartford?
Oh, they're
There's
going
lots,
crazy.
right?
Well, there's some joy at
Yeah,
least.
there is.
Obviously, we don't find out till this weekend if they where they're going to go. But at least they won 8 games. They did rally past UMass last week.
Right.
So
Yep.
So they got their 8th win, and that's the first winning season since 2010.
10.
The last time they won 8 games, and they actually went to the Fiesta Bowl that year. They won't be going to the Fiesta Bowl this year.
Right.
But
That's a left. Yeah, right.
How about UMass hanging around with Georgia for the first half?
yeah,
How about that?
yeah, I know. It's crazy.
That was literally 4 days or 5 days after they fired their coach.
Yeah, and UMass scored more points against Georgia than Tennessee did. Go figure.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So last point of contention, Bama. Why are they even in the consideration set?
Because
of
they're
their name.
Bama.
Alabama.
That's their name.
That's all it is.
It's all name. Name
Oh,
recognition.
yes.
They're not deserving. I
Nope.
can tell you that.
No, I would agree with that. This year they're not deserving, but unfortunately, when it's dollars, it's a money-making operation here. This college football playoff. It's just that now they can make more money because they have 12 teams.
Right.
And
Yep, exactly.
and
It's
so-
kind of like the NCAA Final Four, where you went from 32 teams to 64, and it's just whoever is the 65th and 66th. They're always going to be bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, last year we were bitching and moaning about the 5th and 6th teams that didn't get in. Now it's going to be the 13th and 14th teams. But, whenever you have a committee that's picking, it's always going to lead to some controversy. You
Right,
could
'cause
say
it's
do it the other
subjective.
way. You could make it totally objective. There are things called computer rankings, which are supposed to be more analytical and more objective. but people would complain about that too. So
Yeah, for some reason they don't bring in the electronic umpire for baseball.
well, I think they're going to do that, but
that would be a good move.
That would be
a
move.
real good move.
Yeah.
Yep.
The umpires are so.
I mean, they're already using those in the minor leagues, so I think it's just a matter of time before it makes it to MLB.
How about, did you hear this talk this week?
Oh, the golden at bat.
Golden at bat.
Yeah. Don't, please, no.
No.
That's what I say, but
golden at bat.
So
Yeah.
I don't know all the details.
So the gist of it is that, how you if it gets to be like the bottom of the ninth, the home team is trailing.
Yeah.
They need to put up a pinch hitter to try and generate some offense in the bottom of the ninth. Well, instead of waiting for that for a certain batter to get up, they can pick anybody on their bench to be the pinch hitter at any point in the ninth.
Anybody in that roster who's already playing.
Who's playing. Who's in the game.
So say Aaron Judge is batting third and the eighth batter is up, you can move him from third to eighth.
You can put Judge into his slot. It's crazy.
It makes no sense. No, I don't like that at all. It's totally wrong.
It totally detracts from the history of the game, because then you're going to have stats that are pre and post that. I mean, it's going to be bizarre.
Well, I heard one scenario this week that said, what if Aaron Judge led off that inning and he struck out against the closer? Do you then get to put Aaron Judge up 2 more times?
Yeah.
In that inning?
Can they do that?
I thought. Well, I don't know how many. I thought you only got one at one.
Well, I don't know.
But you can put him up twice.
You could put him up twice in one inning.
Back to back. If he struck out, you could put him back up again.
So that means the closer has to face Aaron Judge twice in the bottom of the ninth, trying to close out a game.
That'll never. You think that'll go through? I don't.
I pray to God.
But the funny thing about it is, it only came to light this week because Rob Manfred, the commissioner, did an interview back in October during the playoffs, and this guy who did the interview with him, for some reason, it didn't get much publicity at the time, and somebody else found out about it and picked it up and broadcast it out this week.
And it just got because everybody, it's been all over.
It's been all over.
First I ever heard.
But that's part of the baseball's problem. Imagine if Roger Goodell said something similar to that at any point in the year. It's immediately picked up and it's news for days and if not weeks.
Right.
This thing happened 6 or 8 weeks ago, and we're just finding out about it now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
That is crazy. But yeah, we'll see. We got the Juan Soto, the
Juan Soto sweepstakes.
There's 5 teams, I guess. So is it up to 5 teams?
Yeah, and
the Yankees, the Mets.
When do the meetings start?
Monday.
Monday, right?
They'll know by Monday?
Well, he said he kind of wanted to make a decision by the time the GM meetings happen, which is next week.
Right.
So we'll see. But, there have been a few player moves in free agency. We thought maybe everything would wait till Soto happened and then all the dominoes would fall, but it's been pitching related.
Yeah, mostly pitching.
Pitching. The Blake Snell to the Dodgers. Right. So the rich get richer there.
Right.
And then Luis Severino goes from the Mets to the Oakland A's, the richest contract they've ever awarded.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Today that was announced. And then
3 years, $67 million. I wouldn't give him that much.
No, I think that's part of the issue why he's not going to be back with the Mets.
Right.
But the Mets kind of picked up his replacement last week. They signed Frankie Montas from the Brewers, who was also briefly on the Yankees a couple of years ago.
Right.
So that they got one other starter to replace Severino in the rotation.
They have to see if they can get Mania, right? That's the other one that would be real big.
Yeah, and
and there's a couple other guys out there.
Corbin Burns is still out there.
Right? Yeah.
But the big fish is of course Juan Soto, and we'll see where he lands.
And then everything else will start going right after that.
We think so.
It'll be interesting.
Hey, I see even the Red Sox are involved.
Yeah, supposedly they are.
Involved in that.
Yeah. Why now they want to pay some money?
They let Mookie Betts walk out. Right? You let Mookie walk out and you want to go after this guy. Jesus.
Right?
How does that make sense?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Well, nothing says Red Sox baseball like Soto.
Yeah, right.
Toronto's another team that's out there.
Toronto,
Yeah, I
too.
know. I was right.
Yeah, but they were talking about Toronto not being a good spot because the taxes alone will eat you up there,
Yeah.
supposedly.
Yeah, they always have a disadvantage because
Right,
the tax
taxes.
structure is worse in Canada
Right,
than it is in the
right.
U.S.
Right.
So they'd have to pay. They probably have to offer him $1 billion to get him to sign.
Right. Wow. It'll
So
be interesting to see where that comes out. But
well, what do you
Gosh.
what's your you asked our opinion on Alabama in the CF playoff. What's your opinion?
They definitely should. I totally agree that they're only there because of their name, and everybody's joking about, the logo. You're granting kudos to a logo that's been historically very good, but laying that goose egg this late in the year against Oklahoma
Yeah,
was it's unfathomable that you could say that that's a team that should be in there.
yeah. I mean, but the one thing that you can also say about this year is that really, other than Oregon, there really hasn't been a dominant team.
Right.
It's Oregon and a lot of other.
Hey, do you think Oregon's that dominating? I don't know about that either.
Well, they were earlier in the year.
Right,
I think
I'm
in the
looking at
second
them
half
now.
of the year they haven't been as dominant.
I think that thing is wide open. You know that? I really
It's definitely
do.
wide open, which
I
is,
do.
I think, good for the fans.
Yeah, yes.
At least it's not sort of
The most
predetermined
exciting
who's going to
year I've
win.
ever watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of crazy
so many
games.
upsets.
What?
Yeah, so many upsets
Michigan.
and lots of weird teams that you never really think about playing each other. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and and we think we've got it all figured out, but yet there's still one more weekend of conference championship games, and that could change the picture as well. Imagine if Clemson beats SMU in the ACC
Right.
championship game. Does that mean then that the ACC gets 2 and maybe even Miami a third team in when preseason everybody thought the ACC would be lucky to get 1 team in?
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's highly possible.
Yeah, and could the what happens in the Big 12 championship game? Let's say it's a real stinker and one of the teams wins 6-3. do they get excluded altogether?
They have to
I
go.
doubt that.
Oh.
Arizona State is on fire right now.
Yeah.
That Scatterboot guy.
Yeah, he's good.
So do all 5 get him, or is it only the 4?
Well, it's the 5 highest ranked
No, but I thought the
teams.
Isn't it the
Conference
conference champions?
The 5 highest ranked conference champions are guaranteed to get in. But what if let's say Boise State blows out UNLV and they're in the Mountain West championship game, and the Big 12, ends up getting shut out.
Yeah, which is highly possible at this point.
Yeah, because everybody in the Big 12 would have had at least 3 losses, possibly, or potentially. So
Yeah.
It's
before
Iowa
you
State and
guys-
Arizona State, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
yeah.
Before you guys wrap up, what was the score of the UConn-New Mexico game? Did they played this year, right?
What? In
In football?
Yeah.
No,
No,
they
they
didn't play each other.
No.
It was last year that they played when Pavia was the quarterback.
No, it must have been 2
Yeah.
years ago. Because they didn't play. They didn't play this year, and I don't think they played last year either.
I don't remember.
Okay. I couldn't remember if they played. I thought they had, but Utah is about to steal their offensive coordinator and their quarterback from New Mexico, and that should be
Oh.
announced maybe tonight or tomorrow.
You got the inside scoop on the Utes.
I do. They tried to take Washington State's OC. He's pretty good, but he got snapped up by Arkansas or somebody. I can't remember who took him.
Yeah. I mean, the other comment on this idea that you have to have the 5 highest ranked conference champions in the playoff this year, I think the original concept of that was pretty good, but the way things have played out this year, I think it would be just better if you just picked the 12 highest ranked teams.
Yeah, the 12 best teams, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I wonder if that changes next year, or if or they start adding more teams as early as next year to the playoffs.
I wouldn't be surprised to see it expand very quickly because the money that they're going to realize is going to be huge. How many extra games does this create for that entity? I mean, it's ridiculous.
But eventually, you're going to get an NFL-like schedule of 16 or 17 games for the players too.
Do you think they'll keep doing the conference championships then, or?
I think they'll get rid of them.
Right, just get rid of that.
I think they would go away. Yeah,
yeah, right.
They've already gone, and everybody's abandoned the conference or the divisions. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that go away.
The only thing, though, is that
suddenly Notre Dame.
Yeah. I mean, but the only thing is those conference championship games actually make a lot of money for their conferences.
Right.
Yeah,
they're big money makers just for their conference.
That's why they don't.
As opposed to the CFP, where you're going to have to share the revenue with other schools and other conferences. So, it'll be interesting to see how it evolves.
Somebody said
bowl game is a huge payout to the team that makes it. Like when Utah went to the Rose Bowl, they got 50% of the revenue, and then the rest of the conference split what was left over from their payout. So, it makes sense that the SEC has always been tied in with ESPN to keep their brand as top and center. And that seems to be the whole motivation for getting Alabama in this time, is just the wealth of riches for that conference.
Yeah. Well,
somebody mentioned too, why don't both teams, whoever makes it to the conference championship, get into the playoffs instead of just the winners?
Yeah, right. I mean, because there's been some talk that even though the committee said, "Oh, we won't take it against you if you get to your conference championship game and lose," but
it's not true.
That's not true. I mean, human nature is such that once you add another loss to your record,
but you made it to the championship, so that's why some don't get to the champion.
Well, I mean, Lane Kiffin from Ole Miss said, "I don't want to make the conference championship game," because when it looked like they might. Now, of course, they're not there.
Right. Why is just another could be a detriment to you getting in?
Yeah.
To it. So it'll be interesting. I think there's going to be some changes going on in how they do this and more teams. Right?
Yeah, I don't know if you would remember this, Robbie, but in the smaller version, in the Connecticut high school football playoffs, when most of the leagues used to have league championship games, if both teams that made it there, whatever the result was, didn't count towards the playoffs.
Right. Yep.
Now,
really?
Just like they do in the basketball.
Now, there's no committee picking people. It was based solely on a point system. So, the CFP isn't quite the same thing. It's not a point system, but maybe they'll, who knows, maybe they'll end up going to something like that in the future.
But there's going to be cups, that Georgia-Texas game will be good, and Oregon and Penn State. Those will be some good games.
Yep.
On this weekend.
They start Friday night?
No, they
all Saturday.
Well, there is, I think, one game Friday night. It's one of, is it the Mountain West? I think. What's that?
A bunch of games tomorrow night.
Yeah.
There's UNLV, Boise. There's Tulane Army.
Yep.
Who else? There was 3 games.
West Kentucky and Jacksonville.
So that's Conference USA.
Oh, yeah, Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
That was the other one.
Yeah, and UNLV.
But Saturday's really the day.
Saturday's really the day for everything, right? Yep.
Well, I drove you all the way to the end of the show, gentlemen. And if we didn't have all this controversy, you guys wouldn't have anything to talk about, right?
That's the beauty.
That's the beauty of it.
Jameis Winston still looks good in the giant uniform. I don't care. With all the controversy.
People will ruin him.
Mike might be right, though. I don't know about Dable.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might be a new coach who might try to ruin him, but we'll see. Or rein him in.
Perhaps they bring in the entire Sanders family. You
never
know.
I know that topic has come up, but Deion says he's committed to CU, so we'll see if he's a man of his word.
I think he is. I don't see him leaving. He's he's been super active on the recruiting trail, and they did have a couple setbacks on their recruits, but I think they did very well for recruiting. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he sticks around for at least another couple of years.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, I appreciate the call, and hope enjoy your college football viewing fest this weekend.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, I will enjoy it all day.
All right.
Enjoy the
All
snow.
right, over and under.
Over and
We'll see
under.
it under.
Right.
It's
But,
interesting, Mike, though,
what
about
time
the
is it?
Giants. It is
Oh,
getting
just-
closer now. But 'cause
35.
what do you think, Patsy? You think they should get rid of Dable or leave him?
No, I don't think he's that bad a coach. I really don't. I think he's half of this crap was just handed to
But
him.
if they
Think about
finish,
it.
if they finish 2-15,
I know.
I think give him one more year. I really do.
And
You know
Shane
that-
too, both of them. Keep
Yeah,
them there.
I do.
I'm
Gable-
leaning towards what you're
Can I
saying.
tell you something?
Pat.
I still
don't
think
know.
Gable was a good coach. He had Josh Allen. He must have been doing something right. Think about what Josh Allen's doing right now.
No,
You know what I'm
get
saying?
I know.
He inherited this crap.
but he's actually gotten better since Dayball left. So
yeah, no.
I don't know.
I mean, you can make
know.
that
I-
argument, but
Yeah.
I'm on the opposite camp. I think
You think he should
Shane and Dayball need to go, and normally you would want some form of continuity because the Giants have just had so much turnover in the last decade in the
Right.
front office and
It's 2
coaching.
years and out, right? It's
Do you,
every
But
2
do you
years
think
and out.
Belichick would be the guy to come in?
No, I think Mike Vrabel is the
Vrabel,
best,
right?
the
Well,
best one.
They said Mike Vrabel might be up for the Chicago job,
Oh,
Yeah.
and he's expressed
He could
interest
be up for
apparently in the Jets
Dallas
job.
Cowboy, the
Yeah,
Jets,
yeah, right?
all three. So I'm sure he's the
But
number
the
one.
only reason that he's probably not publicly saying he's interested in the Giants job is because the Giants still have a coach.
Right,
Right.
right.
Now, the Jets don't have; they have an interim coach,
Right.
and the Bears have an interim coach.
Right.
So, but
If I was Vrabel, I would go to the Bears.
but technically the
know that?
Cowboys still have a coach.
Cowboys have a
Right,
coach.
but I would go to the Bears. I think
Go to the
that's. I
Bears. You
think.
think
I
they
think.
got
I think Caleb is going to be a decent
Well,
quarterback.
that's the thing is that
That's funny. You switched. You didn't like Caleb for quite a while.
You know what? After I watched him the last 3 or 4,
Yeah,
you know what?
I
I think he's got the
know,
right
I know.
offensive coordinator now. I think the guy's a pretty smart guy who's there now,
Yeah.
the interim guy. I
Yeah.
really do.
All right.
And you know what? They just barely lost to the Packers, barely
Right.
lost to the Commanders, barely lost to the Vikings,
Right.
Detroit. They were up
Detroit,
there in
yeah.
every game.
he's played well the last month or
Yeah,
so.
He has
and
played much
Yeah.
better.
And
right,
so, a lot of
Yeah.
people think, he was worthy now of that first pick in the
Yeah,
draft.
I think he
And,
was.
obviously the 3 quarterbacks that were taken at the top of the draft all look very good.
Really
They
good.
do.
Right.
They
So
do.
far.
They make
Yeah.
good, But this, I guess this
Oh.
coming out,
This
quarterbacks
group
aren't
of
good.
quarterbacks
Yeah,
coming
two,
out
those
is
two
not
really-
not
Well, I
thought to
don't
be
even
at
know.
that
I
level.
know.
Like I said, I'm not. I know he likes Shador, but I'm not impressed with him. And I'm not impressed with Cam. I watch Cam Moore play too, and I'm not impressed with him either. I don't know. Maybe there's somebody out there that they can, somebody that's off the radar that's decent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That-
But that's why I think your thing of having a journeyman come in and just play,
You
couple
know what?
years
I
or
was
whatever,
watching that
do
game and I'm
something
saying,
then.
what's
All
wrong
right.
with him going to the Giants?
Yeah,
What's
right.
wrong with him?
Yeah.
Gable might be able to reel him in. Somebody might be able to reel him in
Right,
and say,
right.
don't make those passes. Dude, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? He's got a hell of an arm on him.
He has
He's
a
very
cannon
gifted.
for
You
an
can
arm.
say whatever you want. I
Right.
saw some of the passes he made. I'm saying, wow, how
How
did
do
you
you
even
get that?
get that through there?
How
Yeah.
do you get that
Do you
there?
know what
right?
I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you need somebody. And I kept thinking Giants. That's all I kept thinking.
Well, thanks for thinking of us.
Yeah, right.
And what's your prediction on tonight's game?
Oh, I'm hoping the Packers. I'm hoping Jordan Love. Spread a little love out there. All we need is love, right?
Yeah.
Don't the Beatles sing that?
Yeah,
All we
right.
need is love.
There you go.
Yeah. 3 points, being for Detroit, being at home, that's like pretty much even. Right?
Yeah,
That's
I'd say,
even,
I'd
right?
say it was.
That's even, right? So right there. So
Plus the
should be good.
the Lions could have a little bit of a letdown. I mean, I know they didn't clinch the division yet, but they clinched a playoff berth. And human
Right.
nature is such that once you clinch something,
Right.
you don't quite play as hard.
Right.
But Dan Campbell is a very good motivator,
He's a good
so
coach. He's a
we'll
good
see. We'll
coach.
see what he does. But they have a lot of injuries. The
They're all
Lions
beat up.
have a lot
They're
of
all beat up.
injuries, so we'll see how they do tonight. And let's see if the Packers can get the victory
I
and
hope so.
tighten up that
Oh,
NFC
nice.
North race.
Nice. Then they'd be tied with the Vikings. The Vikings
Yeah.
would only have two
right.
losses in Detroit.
Sam Darnold. That's
I'm
crazy.
telling you.
Yeah.
No,
Very
speaking
good.
of Sam Darnold, what do you think of him as a bridge quarterback
Yeah,
for the
and
Giants?
he's now, boy, when he was with the Jets, you're like, no way.
But you know
I don't
what?
know.
Something he's got some great wide receivers and things like that. And
Yeah.
you know what? I don't know. I've been watching him lately. He seems like he's regressing a little bit.
Yeah,
He started out really hot at the beginning of the year.
Yes,
Now
crazy.
I
Not
think
as
they're
much.
starting to figure him out a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, and he's got probably the best wide receiver in football.
Right.
Think about it.
Justin
yeah.
Jefferson.
You know,
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It should
Yeah.
be interesting.
Yeah,
Still
this
good-
offseason is no matter what, this offseason for the Giants and the Jets is really going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Very interesting.
You still look at the Giants and you're like, they've got players.
They have some pieces.
I like that Tracy
More
kid.
so- more
I
so
like
than
that
they've
Tracy
had.
kid.
Right.
Tracy kid is a decent runner. You know
Yeah.
that?
How do they
pretty good.
have 2 wins? Right? That's just.
But you know,
just-
Dexter Lawrence getting hurt. I mean, he's playing. He was playing at an all-world level.
Right.
You know, Burns has been okay. Thibodeau has been invisible.
Yeah.
You know, they have a couple of decent offensive linemen, not great, but decent.
Right.
Neighbors is good.
Neighbors is
Neighbors
good.
He's the real
right.
deal.
You know, I
Neighbors
think,
is good.
still think
Taylor,
Slayton
like you
is
said.
good.
Yeah.
You know, Wan'Dale Robinson's pretty good.
Right.
Right.
You know, they've got some pieces
They
there.
do. They do.
Right.
They do. They just
That's why, I
got to
thought
hit
this
on a
year-
few more. That's all.
They got to hit on a few more. Now the ironically, the draft that the Giants had this past one is most of those guys
Very
are
good.
contributing.
Yeah. Very
Drew
good.
Phillips and Tyler
Right.
Newman in the
Yeah.
defensive
That's why I say
backfield
Shane
are
didn't do a
good,
bad job there, right?
but his first 2 drafts were not good. Not, I mean, they looked okay
It looked good.
initially,
Yeah, right.
but now in
Turned
retrospect,
out.
they don't look good.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see, but we'll see if he's even around to make another draft pick.
Right. Hey, we didn't mention the UConn men, got to Maui, that
That
Hawaiian
was
Air.
not a
didn't
pleasant
do-
trip.
That Hawaiian Air did
Forget
not
about
do them
that.
any good.
Oh,
right?
Danny Hurley.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, yeah,
God.
he gets
That must have
the
been a hell of a
technical.
long ride home.
Oh, can you imagine that one? Right?
Oh, God.
Yeah, the silence
Oh.
for 12 hours of silence coming home.
But you know what? They were talking today. You think about it. He's got 8 guys in the NBA. Well,
Yeah.
G League and NBA. That he lost. Think about what he lost.
Mhm.
How do you
Back
replace
to
that?
back.
How do you replace
NCAA.
I mean,
that?
it's
hard,
it's
right?
even though people were talking about the UConn's a sure bet for a three-peat, I think this team just needs more time to develop
Right.
because you basically have almost all new players.
Right. Think
Almost,
about
not quite all,
Think
but
Caravan. Really
Caravan is the
only one that got
holdover and Diarra,
Diarra.
Right.
and
Even
Solo.
Diarra didn't have as much time.
Yeah, he was
Right.
the 6th man,
Right.
so now he's a starter. So
Right. Yeah.
it's a little
Solo.
different. And Solo Ball has to
And the
play
people
more.
coming in
And
that Mahaney
Mahaney
didn't make the
and,
difference like Spencer.
McNeely's a real deal.
McNeely's
looks like a
he's
real
He's the
player.
real deal.
He'll be one and done.
Do you know he played with Cooper Flagg at that freaking
Yeah.
school?
Unbelievable.
I wonder what they're 37-0 or some
yeah.
stuff like
with those
that.
2 kids. Yeah. Right?
Jesus.
Yeah.
I read a great article about Cooper Flagg on ESPN.com. It was a few weeks ago now, but it was a great article about him. And he's the only guy who's ever been from the state of Maine who potentially could be drafted, that high in the NBA draft.
They said he's
The
gonna
only
be-
guy.
He could be
From
the number 1
Maine,
pick.
right?
He's
Yeah.
already
The state of Maine has
penciled in.
had 2 other guys that were drafted, but it was way back a long time ago when there was also like 10 rounds in the draft.
Right.
Yeah, but everybody's got him number
Yeah,
one.
everybody,
No
one or
foreigners,
no
nothing.
less than
That's
2.
it.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
number one.
Obviously he has to stay healthy too, but he has. I've seen him play a couple times now, and he is very, very good. He's
He
very
is.
mature.
They were on last night. Was it last
Yeah,
night?
they played. They were playing
Yeah, I didn't see-
Alabama.
I watched it.
Uh,
Yeah,
beat Alabama.
They beat Alabama.
Right.
Kansas
Yeah.
lost last night.
Kansas
Number 8.
lost. Yeah.
By
Watch that
Creighton.
game.
Yeah.
Creighton did a job on it.
Yeah,
Creighton,
their
where
first loss.
Number 1 teams go to die.
I know,
UConn went
right?
there last
Yeah,
year and
did too.
died.
Yeah.
It's all right. And then our schedule starts pretty soon. I think we have Texas this week.
Texas this
Texas,
weekend.
and then I think Xavier. I think we have Xavier coming up
So
before
before Christmas,
Before Christmas,
they
I
have
think we have Xavier.
a Big Eastern,
Yeah, I think
Big
we-
East game.
I think we
Yeah.
have Xavier.
Right.
So,
Yep.
well,
then it'll all start going after
Can't
that.
wait.
Yeah. No, it's a great time.
Yeah, it is.
It's
The girls are in
really
a tournament
great.
Saturday too. I forgot what tournament they're in. They're playing. Tennessee's in it. There's 4 teams in it. They're one of the teams that are in it, and hopefully they're going to win that tournament anyways. But they look good. The girls look all right. Izzy Fudd started to come around a little bit now.
Right?
She started playing.
That Sarah Strong.
Sarah Strong looks very good. She looks strong.
She's
gonna be real
She's
good.
gonna be really.
She's gonna be really good. So
really good.
I mean, now,
Yeah.
the last couple of years where Gino's bench was so short, now he's got a wealth,
Yeah.
an embarrassment of riches.
I love it.
Yeah.
They were playing Holy Cross. I was watching the game. He took all 5 of them out. He was pissed right in the beginning because they Holy Cross was hanging around. They were hitting threes left and right. It looks like they were going to get out their cover. Next thing you know, boom, he pulls everybody out. Everybody, the
And now
whole
he
freaking
can.
team.
Yeah.
Got the second
now
unit.
he's got a hell of a team now. You know that?
No, it's
He's
really
even publicly said now, my biggest challenge this year is finding
time.
minutes for all my
Time.
good players.
I know.
And obviously, we should also recognize him for becoming the winningest
Yes.
coach in history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that happened now about
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. And, it was. I watched that game on SNY, and he, they had that great ceremony
Oh,
afterwards.
that was a really
That
good
was really
All the
good.
girls that came
Yeah,
back.
All the
60-something girls
60-something
came
players
back.
came back.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
It was great to see.
Tarazi talked and
Sue Bird
Lobo,
spoke.
Sue Bird.
Lobo,
Yeah. That was a great.
Maya Moore was there, and
Maya
Afisha
Moore,
Collier
Maya
was
Moore.
there. Yeah.
Everybody,
So, Stewie was Stewie there? I
Stewie
didn't
was
see
there.
She
her.
was there, but she didn't say
She
anything.
didn't say
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, but she was there with everybody.
But
and before I forget, Mike, we got to congratulate Coach Salius too. Got his 100th win
That's right.
against Wolfcat.
Hey.
At a night, so now he's got 101 wins.
Good for him.
So fantastic. It's not with only 10 games a year.
Yeah.
That's
a
great feat.
great feat.
Yeah, actually, on our tables last night, they had a picture of him with the digits 100 on the bottom
Oh,
of
that's
it.
awesome.
100 wins.
That's fantastic.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hey, so let's check out here because I got to go home.
Oh, yeah,
that's
I gotta
right.
watch a game.
All right.
here.
Well,
that's
thanks
it.
for everybody for tuning in tonight. We'll be back next week, and stay safe out there on the road.
Yes.
Stay warm, and
Get your shopping done.
get your shopping done. Only what 21
20
more?
days.
20 days till
20 days.
20 days till
Fast.
Christmas.
That's right. Yeah,
So
less than 3
get your
days.
shopping done.
All
All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
See you.